All right, let's get this underway. They call me the hater, and I'm here to talk about AEW and their first episode. And basically, I'm going to tell you why that episode completely sucked. All right, so the first thing we had was the first match. The first match in the history of AEW TV. You know, you would expect something good here. You know, you'd expect maybe, I don't want to say a household name because they have no household names, but perhaps you would expect, I don't know, Kenny Omega or maybe Jericho or something like that to be the first match to kind of give it that gravitas, right? But instead, of course, they went with not that at all. They went with Cody Rhodes, who, of course, we now just know as Cody, with his stupid hair and his dream tattoo on his chest and all that crap against a jobber. This guy, Sammy Guevara, this guy has got to be one of the worst wrestlers ever. I mean, in the ring, he's athletic. I give the kid props, you know, but he is the most vanilla guy I've ever seen in my life. He has no character. His character seems to be that he's some arrogant guy, but he does not play it off well at all. And in my opinion, that's not even a character. Not every personality trait is a character. Sometimes a character needs to be fleshed out, but this guy comes out of the ring wearing one of those panda hoodie things, you know, where it's like an animal, but it's like a hoodie, and this doesn't fit at all with his arrogance. He looks more of like an otaku, so I'm pretty sure all the AEW marks are going to love this guy because he's just like them. He probably goes home, watches some Animal Planet, and whacks his bag a little bit, but, you know, that's neither here nor there. The match itself was actually pretty decent. I'm not going to lie. The match was pretty decent. You know, Cody Rhodes, I don't like him. I never have, except for when he was like, you know, the not dashing one. That was pretty cool. But Cody Rhodes, you know, he's got the same 5-6 moves, which is a lot more than most of the wrestlers got. But we will talk about that later. You know, he's got his little spots. The commentators, they always talk about how he's Dusty's son. And quite frankly, I am completely done with that angle. That angle is stupid, you know? I'm tired of it. Oh, Dusty's watching from above. Oh, Dusty this, Dusty that. Oh, will he make him proud? Oh, look, Tully Blanchard, you know, he was like the fourth guy in the Horsemen, and Ric Flair had matches with Dusty, so he's the manager of the opponent because we're supposed to care. And here's Arn Anderson looking like he's about 85, coming out and doing a spine buster like we're supposed to care, you know? Like, it's such smart fan service that the rest of us can't get behind this. Like, 50 people come out with him. DDP is there for some reason. His stupid dog, his dumb wife, you know, like they're all there just to like support Cody. I'm talking about the pay-per-view now, but whatever, you understand what I'm saying. So it's that guy. It's that jerk-off, Stardust. You know, you may know him as Stardust, also known as the pre-show guy. The pre-show guy. This guy hadn't had a match in pay-per-view for WWE for a long time, man. This guy is an opening act. So rightfully so, he was in the opening act, but he shouldn't have been. This is the first episode, and we need something good. Nonetheless, the match was decent. Who won? Cody Rhodes won. I think what happened was that that jobber, Sammy Guevara, did something. He did like a shooting star press or something, and Cody pulled up his knees and rolled them up for the 1, 2, 3. Now, that's something that, as a finish, that would not be the best finish ever, you would think. But I don't know, for some reason it worked. It worked because it's kind of like an out-of-nowhere finish. It puts over this, I don't know why they want to put him over, but it puts over the Sammy Guevara guy as a quasi-threat, you know, in the sense that, like, he almost hit his finisher on Cody, and Cody barely, like, rolled him up to win. So, whatever. As a match, it wasn't a bad opener. From a booking and storyline perspective, it was completely atrocious, and I hated it for that. Next up, we have MJF versus Brandon Cutler, right? MJF, everyone's raving about this guy. You know, he comes out. You know, he has some lines. I'm not gonna lie. You know, he comes out there and he makes fun of the neckbeards and the virgins, which you know, that's kind of neat. I don't know how long he'll be able to keep doing that because you know, it is whatever rated TV 14 or whatever. But you know, he can't just be making fun of the fans the whole time. He also needs to develop a personality. His goofy smile and EC3 wannabe character is the same exact thing as Sammy Guevara. Two arrogant guys that think they're better than you. That's what we've got here, right? And they're both kind of pseudo-comedy jobbers. Anyways, this guy, obviously he was going to win. They've got this guy pegged to be a big star or something like that. And he was wrestling against... Remember when I said Sammy Guevara was the most vanilla guy ever? Well, that was until the second match when we were introduced, I'm sure some of you beards out there know who he is, Brandon Cutler, which might as well be named Jobber McJobberson. This guy had nothing going for him. He came out there. Apparently, he's like a friend of the Young Bucks in real life, so they got him a job. Hopefully, as a jobber, we never see this guy again. MJF was bigger than him. He was superior to him physically. So that, plus the fact that MJF is someone that people have been talking about, made it obvious that MJF was going to win. It was kind of like a squash match, not exactly. The one memorable thing I remember is that Brandon Cutler, one of the announcers, definitely not JR, because JR is not a cuck, but one of the nerd announcers, like maybe that Alex guy or the idiot in the mask, they were saying how like Brandon Cutler is like a Dungeons and Dragons enthusiast or something like that, because at a certain point in the pre-match promo, MJF mocked him for being a nerd, basically, and they were saying, "Oh well, Brandon Cutler likes to he takes pride in his like nerdiness and being a dungeon master, whatever the hell that stupid crap is." So, anyways, needless to say, if there wasn't any other reason to hate this guy, the fact that he plays Dungeons and Dragons should suffice. So we ended that match quite quickly. MJF won with his Fujiwara armbar, which is called the Salt of the Earth. I don't like it as a finisher. He's a big guy. He should have a slam type finisher. Not like a choke slam, but some sort of like power bomb or like a backbreaker or something where he lifts the guy up, you know? An armbar, that's the jobber finisher. That's a Becky Lynch finisher. Anyways, next up, we had a little segment with Jay and Silent Bob, Jason Mewes, and Kevin Smith. They were in the crowd. They cut what I would consider a decent promo, considering that you could tell these guys didn't give a rat's ass about what was going on there. They were just there to promote their movie, which is probably going to be awesome because Kevin Smith is a funny dude, and that's all I got to say about that. This segment was a complete piece of shit. Angelico and Jack Evans, these two like lady boys, came out. They're the most annoying people ever, and not in a good way, not in like a character way. They just look like douchebags. They came out and they tried to bully Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes, and a team called Private Party came out. This team, I've heard good things about them. I don't know much about them. It seems to be just two black guys. I'm sure one of them is going to be the best athlete we've ever seen, and the other one will be the charismatic one, like every other black tag team. I have high hopes with them. They seem to be good wrestlers from what I've heard. But all they did here was they came out and they essentially backed up Smith and Mewes by just being there and kind of shooing off Jack Evans and Angelico, who then just left. They didn't even have a match or anything. They were just there to bully the two guests. And this might work in a scenario like, if anyone remembers La Resistance, as they say, back in the day when Rene Dupree and Sylvain Grenier were trying to bully Rob Conway. It was believable because Dupree and Grenier are two jack dudes, where it would be feasible that a random person, even an army person, would be intimidated by these two monsters, like 6'3", 240 pounds at least, right? That's Sylvain Grenier. Rene Dupree was probably bigger. He was a big boy. But here we have these two cruiserweights, these two idiots. Like, why would Jason Mewes or even Kevin Smith be afraid of Jack Evans? This guy's like 5'0", 5'4". Like, there's nothing intimidating about this guy whatsoever. He does not deserve to be there. I've seen some of his old matches. Spot monkey, has no recognizable moves. So a bunch of flips, no charisma, zero. Next, we have SoCal Uncensored, which is led by the very underrated Christopher Daniels, in my opinion, one of the best indie guys of all time, and probably the best guy to never wrestle for WWE. That's right, better than Kenny Omega and these other idiots. But anyway, SoCal Uncensored, which is a trio, I guess are part of the tag team tournament. They cut a little promo where they revealed that it would be Frankie Kazarian. That's right. You may remember him from Velocity, where he was a complete jobber. I mean, he won his matches, but he was, wrestling like Funaki and, like the undercard. So him, Kazarian, Christopher Daniels, and Scorpio Sky, which is like probably the worst name I've ever heard in my life, came out, cut a promo. It's going to be Daniels and Kazarian because they have experience. They're the ones that are going to be representing SoCal Uncensored, also known as SCU, apparently. The Lucha Bros came out. The Lucha Bros, another horrible name. These two guys, they suck. I used to like Pentagon. I watched him a little bit on Lucha Underground. He was cool when he was breaking arms and like hurting people. Now all he does is he makes this stupid sign and says, Cierro Miedo, and the neckbeards chant along. This would be okay if he did it once in a while, but he does it like 8 times a match, and 20 times a promo. So he came out, did that. They brawled. It was a horrible brawl. No one went over. No one's excited about this match. No one cares. Then we have the bastard Pac, or as they call him now, Pac, versus Hangman Adam Page. Now here's the story of this. There is no story. One guy is a former WrestleMania pre-show jobber named Pac, right? Who, in WWE he was a smaller guy. Here he looks like Batista. This guy he calls himself the bastard for some reason. I guess he's just like an evil dude. So he doesn't give a shit about you. So he'll beat your ass. That's why he's the bastard. All right, I kind of get it. I'm not gonna say that there's something there. Not enough for a character, but it is what it is. Hangman Adam Page. I remember in ROH he had a match with Jay Briscoe where he literally put a noose around Briscoe's neck and pulled on it while putting his leg on Briscoe's back, choking him out. That was badass. That was cool. I knew at that point, Adam Page, this guy's got something special if he continues his Hangman gimmick. Now, here's the problem with that. At the first match he had with Jericho for the title or whatever, he came out on a horse. He's just called the Hangman for no reason. His finisher is now called the Deadeye, which I guess is a play on, what's it called? Red Dead Redemption. It's another nerd video game reference, but whatever, if there was a gimmick behind it, if he was like some sort of cowboy, like if he was retarded and he thought he was a cowboy, I'd get behind it. But it's not that. He just comes out and inexplicably calls himself the Hangman and comes out on a horse because I guess he's from Virginia or West Virginia or whatever. No one cares. He has been booked as a jobber now. Pac is clearly the one getting the rub, if you will, right? Pac, if things go like I think they're gonna go, will be the second heel champion. So probably what's gonna happen is Jericho's gonna drop it to some jobber. Right. Meanwhile, Kenny Omega will be losing all his matches. Pac wins the title, and then maybe Jericho wins it again somehow. And then at their first big event, like the equivalent of their WrestleMania, Kenny Omega will win the equivalent of their Royal Rumble, and he will win his story after riding out this losing streak. But in this match, Pac and Adam Page, the match was nothing special at all. It felt like a velocity match, maybe a Sunday Night Heat opener. The match ended with Pac doing the Black Arrow now. It used to be called the Red Arrow, but because he's the bastard, get it? He's a bad guy now, so his heart is black and the arrow is black. He did the Black Arrow, which is a pretty cool move. Landed on Adam Page's back. He was laying on his stomach like a bitch. So he hit that, and just like I thought, he immediately went into the Brutalizer, which is essentially the Rings of Saturn. But he does it. This time he didn't do it like that, but normally he does it and he gets on his own back. So he's technically being pinned. Nobody's checking his shoulders, but I digress. Pac wins. Decent match. Nothing to kill yourself about. Next, we have the first ever AEW Women's Championship match to crown the winner. This was the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. One of the people was Riho, who's this Japanese broad. She's about 85 pounds at most, versus Nyla Rose, who is a monster. She is a big, big person. And I said she, but I'm not even sure about that. This is a transgender wrestler. She used to be a dude, chopped off her dick apparently, and now is a broad. Now, I know what people are thinking. A lot of people don't like this. And I personally am not a fan of transgenders going into female sports. But in this case, I think it's whatever, because wrestling is not a sport. It's fake. And this is the most appropriate place for this to happen, where a man can become a woman, whatever your thoughts are on that, and then that person can then wrestle another woman and not hurt her with their superior strength. And in this case, put the little Japanese girl over. This was the clear way to go. I thought Nyla was going to win, but Riho was the correct choice, because you do not want your first champion to be a dude, because no matter what, you will never shake that. That's always going to be the legacy of this belt. So they made the right choice in crowning Riho the first ever AEDUB Women's Champion. Now, the problem with this match was it was garbage. Riho sucks. Nyla Rose sucks. At least Nyla Rose can pick people up and do some power moves. This Riho girl, her entire moveset, it's like a Finn Balor moveset. They just run around kicking people that are bigger than them, and the other person pretends that they're dying. This person could kick me as hard as she wanted, and it would have no effect. Long story short, Nyla Rose goes for a DVD. That's a Death Valley driver for all you nerd casuals. And on the apron, and sorry, that was after the match when Kenny Omega came to save Riho, which I don't know what that's going to lead to. I don't really give a rat's ass, to be honest. But the way that it ended was Riho did like a running double knee, like a meteora almost, I think, to the back of Nyla Rose's dome. So that was that. Then we had the main event. The main event, all right, this is where it's going to get interesting. This actually was pretty good. I'm not going to lie. And the reason it was good is because Jericho. Jericho is one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. I don't give a shit what people say. He is undisputedly one of the greatest wrestlers of all time because he's got it all. He looks great, even now, honestly. He looks great. He's got charisma in spades. He can wrestle. He's athletic. He has ring psychology for all you beards out there. This guy is interesting. He's always going to be interesting, and he shined in this match like he does in every other match. On top of that, you have Santana and Ortiz, LAX, right? These guys, in my opinion, are just like a discount version of Hernandez and Homicide, but nonetheless, there's something there. They have an interesting look. They have a pseudo gimmick. Los Boricuas, they're whatever. They're two Puerto Ricans, I guess that's their gimmick, better than anything else. So versus Kenny Omega and the Young Cucks. This is complete garbage. The Young Bucks are spot monkeys. Anybody that thinks they're the best tag team in the world has no idea what they're talking about. AOP is better than them. Heavy Machinery is better than them. Dash and Dawson are better than them. Probably Private Party is better than them. There's a lot of tag teams that are better than Young Bucks, and the reason for that, Red Dragon and Undisputed Era, they're better. The reason why the Young Bucks are overrated is because they have this tongue-in-cheek gimmick of they know that wrestling is fake, and they wrestle like they know it's fake. So they'll do like 70,000 sweet chin musics, super kicks, and people will kick out of them as if they were Bray Wyatt getting curb stomped by that idiot Seth Rollins. Nonetheless, whatever. They're athletic. The spots that they do are interesting and fun spots, but they are spot monkeys. There's nothing special about the Young Bucks. Every Young Bucks match is the same. It ends like this. They either hit the Meltzer driver or they don't hit the Meltzer driver, and they win or lose accordingly. And also they had Kenny Omega. Now, Kenny Omega, easily, by far, except for maybe Sami Zayn, by far the most overrated wrestler of all time. This guy is a goof. His entire gimmick is that he's this Canadian who's like an otaku. He likes Japan and he learned Japanese. Good for him, and his moves are like either based on video game moves or they're video game references. Everything this guy does is a joke. Honestly, I'm thinking about all his moves and their names, and they all are video game references. Now, the issue with Kenny Omega, the main issue I have with him is he has a good physique. His face, he looks a little bit to be a little bit of a wet brain. His face is a little weird looking. His hair is atrocious, but he's got a good physique, and that's important, But the problem with him is every time he does a move, 90% of those moves are knees. But every time he does one, before he does a move, he points to the sky before he runs to the ropes, or does a cutthroat. So this guy does a taunt before every move, which is ridiculous. Because if we're gonna take this semi-seriously, why is this guy telegraphing his own moves? He'll do the cutthroat thing and the bang where he points a finger gun at the guy and shoots them before he does the knee. So in kayfabe, if someone points their hand at you in the shape of a gun and shoots you with a fake bullet, if this person's Kenny Omega, that the next thing that they're going to do is a running knee. So why would you not telegraph that running knee, right? That makes no sense. That's why Kenny Omega sucks primarily, other than the fact that he thinks he's hot shit and he ain't. So anyways, the match, pretty decent. It had wrestling moments, right? At a certain point, Dean Ambrose, John Moxley, explicit Mox, who cares? He sucks. John Moxley comes out, and what he does is he pulls away Kenny Omega from this match. Now, the problem with that is that this was not a no DQ match, so this guy can just take one of the participants and beat their ass. Imagine if this happened in every match. Every match would just be rendered into a singles match. What's the point, right? It was a 3-on-3. The match should have ended on a disqualification. It didn't, and I'm happy it didn't because it turned out to be pretty decent. They brawled a bit. There are some goofy moments where Kenny Omega hits him with a broom and pretends he's sweeping the floor. Long story short, they get into the VIP area, which is this alcove with like 2 couches and a glass table. Dean Ambrose double underhooks him, lifts him up, and hits the move. The paradigm shift, I think it's called. Paradigm shift through the table. This looked great. This was tight. It looked like it hurt like hell. It looked like it hurt Ambrose. And Ambrose was like saying to him, like, say something now or something along those lines, just provoking him even further. Now, That's all fine and good. The problem is, what is Dean Ambrose's motivation? We have yet to learn this. This guy just comes and attacks people, primarily Kenny Omega, and we're supposed to care about this. Why does he attack Kenny Omega? Have him cut a promo. Hopefully, this week, he cuts a promo and says, hey, Kenny Omega, I don't like you because I don't even know what reason he would have. He was in WWE this whole time. What did Kenny Omega ever do to him? Anyways, who gives a shit? The Young Bucks are left to fend for themselves against the three-man team of Santana, Ortiz, and Jericho. You know, this was presented well. The Young Bucks, even though they suck, are presented as a capable tag team. So the way it was presented was that the Young Bucks, because they're such a good tag team, they are capable of fending off three guys. One of them is Jericho, the champion, but hey, they're doing it. The Young Bucks surprisingly get the upper hand. They clear out a few people, and they get one of the LAX jobbers in either the Indie Taker or the Meltzer Driver, which for those of you that don't know, it's good that you don't know, where one of the Young Bucks, I always forget them, the one with black hair, Matt or Nick, I don't know, who cares? He gets him in a tombstone. The other one does a springboard and spikes him down with a tombstone, or does a 450 and then spikes him down. Oh, I should say a 360 and then spikes him down. Pretty good finisher if I'm telling the truth. So they set up for that, and when the blonde Young Buck springboards off the ropes, Jericho intercepts him midair with a very good looking code breaker. That was pretty cool. Sometimes Jericho botches that move, and this time he didn't. Maybe that's a testament to the Young Buck that dove right into it. Who knows? So he does that, right? This is perfect. This gives the other LAX member time to attack the other Jackson. They Irish him to the corner. One of the LAX people does like a running single leg drop kick, knocking him on his ass in the Bronco Buster receiving position. He does like a poetry motion type thing. The guy jumps off his partner's back, right? Like you would do a poetry in motion like the Hardys did, except the guy's sitting down, so he jumps pretty high and does like a cannonball, but from like the elevated platform of his partner's back, crushing this guy. That right there, in my opinion, would have been enough to end the match because it just looked unique and it looked like a good move. They pick him up, they double Irish whip him to Jericho, who boom hits the Judas effect for the 1, 2, 3. Right? For some reason, the bad guys, that's Jericho and LAX, aren't satisfied. They keep whooping that ass. Right? Cody Rhodes, who's the number one contender, comes to save the day, and he's destroying these guys. Right? Until Sammy Guevara, remember him, the jobber, comes up. And I'm like, what the hell is this guy going to do? He kicks Cody right in the balls. That was kind of nice. Not going to lie. That was a good moment. Kicks him in the balls. This prompts Goldust, or whatever, Dustin Rhodes, whatever the hell they call him, this jobber who has won like 3 matches in his entire WWE career. He comes up, starts clearing the ring. Right? So now it's even. But we don't like even. Jack Swagger comes out. We the people, motherfuckers. Or whatever. Jake Hager. You know, he's an MMA guy. I actually like Jack Swagger. I'm going to call him Jack Swagger. I don't give a shit. I like Jack Swagger because he's a hoss. He's a big dude. He can wrestle. He's legit tough. He's got a cool haircut. He shouldn't be anybody's lackey. This guy should be the champion, honestly, after Jericho. He's the only one there who's legit. The only 2 people in AEW that are legit are him and Jericho. And the only 2 people that are big in AEW are him and Luchasaurus. And Luchasaurus has a dinosaur gimmick. So that guy is a lost cause as far as I'm concerned. Not to be confused with Lost World Jurassic Park, which is where he belongs. Anyways, Jack Swagger beats that ass, does a Swagger bomb, which is essentially a Vader bomb, whatever the hell he calls it. He does that. Then he gets Goldust in the gut wrench, barely lifts him. Understandable because Goldust is a big guy. Barely lifts him, and he and Jericho slam Goldust in like a double powerbomb types or assisted powerbomb situation on like a small wooden table. It looked sick. The impact looked legit. And Cody Rhodes, I think, was meant to watch. If it were in my hands, one of the LAX guys would have been holding Cody Rhodes and being like, watch what we do to your brother or something like that. So that's kind of interesting. I would like to know where that goes. I mean, it's obviously going to go into just a stupid ass, like the Elite versus these jobbers type match or series of matches. As long as Jack Swagger wins, I'm cool. Overall impressions of the show wasn't bad. You know, I expected worse. I'm going to say that. Hopefully the booking continues to be good because that was the highlight here was the booking. The booking was for the most part done well. People did stand out. people got reactions. The only storyline that was further was the only storyline that exists. That's a negative. And also the negative is that there's a lot of jobbers here, and we haven't even seen all of them yet. There's going to be a lot of jobbers next week as well with like Darby Allin and all those other idiots. But that's another video for another time. Anyways, thanks for checking my video, fuckers. I appreciate it. You know, this is my first video. There will be many of these. So recognize, watch, share, subscribe today, watch again, watch until I tell you to stop watching. And with that, go fuck yourselves.